What if I told you that beneath the shimmering waves of the Indian Ocean, there lies a submerged city that just might be a legendary kingdom mentioned in an ancient epic? Yes, we're going on a deep dive into the story of Dwarka, a city described in the Mahabharata, one of the major Sanskrit epics of ancient India. This isn't just an exploration of myth and legend, but also a journey through the fascinating realms of underwater archaeology and radiocarbon dating. So let's plunge into the depths and discover the captivating saga of Dwarka. Dwarka is more than just a name. It's a word that translates to the gateway to heaven. According to Hindu mythology, this majestic city was established by none other than Lord Krishna, a deity worshipped as the 8th avatar of Lord Vishnu. Now, who is Krishna, you might ask? Krishna, a central figure in Hinduism, is widely revered for his wisdom, his strategic prowess, his supernatural feats, and his role as a charioteer, advisor, and friend to Prince Arjuna in the epic Mahabharata. In this ancient text, Krishna flees to the western coast of India after a catastrophic war. Here he establishes the city of Dwarka, a city so opulent and grand that it's often described as a city made of gold. But as stories go, this magnificent city meets a tragic end. After Krishna's death, a series of calamities strike. Submerged by the sea in a matter of days, the city disappears, taking all its architectural grandeur and wealth along with it. The tale of Dwarka is fascinating in its own right, but here's where it gets even more interesting. This myth aligns with a geological phenomenon known as sea level rise, which could result in the submergence of coastal settlements. So this begs the question, is Dwarka just a symbolic tale, or could it be an actual historical event dressed in myth and legend? The archaeology unit of the National Institute of Oceanography is making headlines. The team is embarking on an underwater archaeological expedition to see what lies beneath the sea at Dwarka, on the western coast of India. Led by archaeologists S.R. Rao and S. Gaur, the team discovers something that shakes up the world of archaeology: structural remains and artifacts suggesting the existence of an ancient city. The expedition reveals well-planned stone structures, pottery shards, semi-precious stones, and inscriptions, some of which date back to the Harappan civilization around 2000 BCE. The discoveries don't stop there. Subsequent underwater explorations reveal an extensive network of stone structures, extending over half a mile, which appears to have been built on the bank of an ancient river, the Gomati. The stone structures, ceramics, and inscriptions lend credibility to the existence of a bustling urban center in antiquity. It's an intriguing find, right? But there's a twist. The artifacts and structures found underwater not only suggest the existence of an ancient city, but also hint at a city that may have been submerged by rising sea levels, aligning strikingly with the legend of Dwarka. Could it be that the legend of Dwarka was not merely a legend, but a page out of our own historical past preserved in mythology? So we have established that there's something under the sea at Dwarka, but what exactly did the explorers find? Well, the discoveries at Dwarka were nothing short of astonishing. Firstly, pottery shards were found in abundance. These pieces of ancient ceramics were from a variety of different eras, some of them dating back to the late Harappan period. The variety in pottery styles suggests that Dwarka was inhabited over an extensive period of time, housing several generations of people. Then there were the semi-precious stones. These materials, often used for making jewelry, speak volumes about the economic prosperity of the city. The presence of such materials suggests that Dwarka was a trade center, exchanging goods with different parts of the ancient world. Next, there were the inscriptions. The most important of these was a seal that bore the image of a three-headed animal. The symbolism behind this creature remains a mystery, but the very fact that the inhabitants of Dwarka had a complex system of symbols suggests a sophisticated society. And then, of course, there were the architectural remains. Stone structures of various shapes and sizes were found, giving archaeologists a glimpse into the layout of the city. Among these structures, a series of circular fort-like constructions, believed to be part of the city's defense system, were particularly remarkable. Taken together, these discoveries form a remarkable narrative of an ancient city that was, in its time, a hub of civilization and commerce. And this narrative, much to our astonishment, aligns remarkably well with the mythical city of Dwarka described in the Mahabharata. In a world where we want hard facts, the science of radiocarbon dating can act as our time machine, providing an objective lens through which to view the past. And it was this scientific tool that was used to try and pinpoint the age of the submerged city of Dwarka. Radiocarbon dating works by estimating the age of organic materials, which include ancient artifacts and biological specimens. It's based on the principle that all living things contain carbon, some of which is radioactive C14. When a creature or plant dies, it stops absorbing this radioactive carbon, but the C14 it already contains continues to decay. By measuring the remaining quantity of C14, scientists can estimate how long ago the organism died, or in our case, when the artifacts were last used or made. Applying this technique, pieces of wood from Dwarka were sent to laboratories where they were analyzed for radiocarbon content. The results: the wood samples were found to date back to around 7,500 years ago, vastly predating the expected timeline of Mahabharata, according to most historians. This significant revelation opened up a Pandora's box of questions. Could the submerged city really be the mythical Dwarka? If so, does it mean that our timeline of the Mahabharata is off? Or does it suggest that the city was inhabited long before Krishna supposedly ruled there, and the epic merely borrowed the location's rich history? The radiocarbon dating results were a fascinating discovery, adding a new layer of complexity to the mystery of Dwarka. It reminds us that the lines between history, archaeology, and mythology can blur, leaving us to ponder on the intersection of fact and fiction. How does radiocarbon dating work? Let's step back from the Dwarka and elaborate a little more on this interesting way to measure age. Alright, so imagine you're watching a video on YouTube. When the video starts, it's fully loaded, right? Now let's say you pause the video and go grab a snack. When you come back, you notice that the video has unloaded a bit. It's been buffering and you can't play it right away. That's a bit like how radiocarbon dating works. But instead of a video, we're talking about a kind of stuff called carbon-14. You see, everything that was once alive, like a tree, a dinosaur, or a woolly mammoth, absorbed a type of carbon called carbon-14 when they were living. Once they die, they stop taking in new carbon-14. But here's the cool part. Carbon-14 is a little bit like a slowly buffering YouTube video. Over time, it changes or decays into another kind of stuff called nitrogen-14. Scientists call the time it takes for half of the carbon-14 to change into nitrogen-14 its half-life. Kind of like if half your video had to buffer before you could watch it. For carbon-14, this half-life is about 5,730 years. Now let's say we find a really old piece of wood and we want to know when the tree it came from stopped living. We can't ask the tree, obviously, but we can use a special tool to measure how much carbon-14 is still in the wood compared to how much carbon-12, a type of carbon that doesn't change over time, is in it. If there's a lot of carbon-14 left, the tree probably hasn't been dead very long, but if there's only a little carbon-14 left, that means the tree has been dead for a very long time, and that's pretty much how radiocarbon dating works. Scientists use this method to tell how old things are that used to be alive, from ancient wooden tools to prehistoric animal bones. It's like a time machine that helps us uncover the secrets of the past. The discussion surrounding the ancient city of Dwarka isn't without its skeptics. These are the people who question the conclusions that have been drawn from the archaeological evidence, and their doubts are an important part of the scientific process. One of the main areas of skepticism revolves around the age of the underwater city. Critics point out that while certain samples tested using radiocarbon dating suggest an older date, this doesn't necessarily confirm that the city itself is of the same age. In other words, older organic material could have been incorporated into a younger settlement. Skeptics also point to the complexity and size of the structures that have been found underwater. They argue that these structures are far more sophisticated than what is typically associated with other sites from the same period. Some even suggest that the underwater ruins could be the remnants of a much more recent settlement, potentially even dating to medieval times. Then there's the question of the city's connection to the ancient epic, the Mahabharata. Skeptics argue that just because a city is found where the mythical Dwarka is said to have been, doesn't mean it's the same city. After all, there could have been multiple settlements in the area over the thousands of years of human history. Finally, skeptics argue that more research needs to be done. The underwater site is extensive, and only a small portion has been thoroughly investigated. Until more of the city is explored and more artifacts are found and tested, skeptics caution against drawing firm conclusions about the site's age and cultural significance. But where does that leave us? A submerged city, radiocarbon dates that point to immense antiquity, and a saga that may or may not be the echoes of a distant past. The quest for understanding Dwarka is a testament to the human spirit's insatiable curiosity, bridging the gap between myth and science. So the next time you gaze at the vast expanse of the ocean, remember that beneath its surface may lie stories waiting to be discovered. But as always, the journey towards knowledge is as fascinating as the destination itself. And as always, thanks for watching.